The RAZR Phobia has died down a bit. Now the most interesting phone in the world getting all the attention is the Galaxy Z Flip. It is a well-designed, well-built foldable phone. It is time to tech talk about it, but first, some background. Motorola and Samsung are at it again. Back in the days when Motorola came with the first RAZR V3 in 2004, Samsung responded with the flip phone of their own, the A900. 16 years later, the battle is still on. Last year in November 2019, in the spirit of nostalgia, Motorola brought back the RAZR in a foldable phone. Samsung was like, you want another round, huh? Bring it on. And they turned around, looked at each other and said, we have to respond.
The word is hail, and it has a great definition as well.
We have to respond. 2 months later, February 2020, they released the Galaxy Z Flip that also folds and pocket size friendly. Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, your public tech advisor, back with another episode on update. In this video, we will talk about the Motorola RAZR going against the Galaxy Z Flip. There is nothing really new about this smartphone apart from the unique foldable design that changes everything in the way we interact with smartphones. So the bone of contention will be centered around reliability and durability, namely folding, screen scratching, bending over backwards and dropping. That's ground impact. But first, the specs and features, one gadget at a time. Let's get you up to date. As the reincarnation of the RAZR V3, it is made up of plastic of aluminum or aluminum frame, weighing 209 grams, 6.2-inch plastic OLED foldable screen in a 70.2% screen to body ratio, another 2.7-inch glass OLED display at the back when folded at the front, powered by Snapdragon 710 with 8-core CPU and Adreno 616 GPU, 6GB of RAM, 128GB storage with no option of memory card. Software runs on Android 9, fueled by a 2510 mAh battery that can turbo power charge at 15 watts with a USB Type-C connector and comes in Noir black color. There is a 16 megapixel main camera and a time of flight 3D camera at the back that can do resolution of 4K and 1080p at 30 frames per second with gyro assisted stabilization. For selfie, it has a 5 megapixel f2.0 HDR main camera that does 1080p at 30 frames per second. The RAZR is an eSIM only phone, so think twice about that before buying it. Supports 4G, 3G and 2G network. It has front-facing fingerprint sensor and splash-proof with water-resistant nano coating. The price in the US is $1,500. Under the current exchange rate, that's about 550,000 naira, $500,000. Now the Z Flip. Announced on February 11th, released on February 14th, 2020, it is exclusively designed to fold in half and to easily fit in your hand and pocket. It comes in mirror purple, black and gold colors, weighing 183 grams. When unfolded, it is a 6.7-inch AMOLED screen called Infinity Flex display. Samsung claimed that it is an ultra-thin foldable glass screen that, in quotes, when you bend it, you are not just bending glass but also the laws of physics. But checks have shown otherwise by the tech reviewing community at first, but then later it was all clarified. More on that controversy coming up later. Lou from Lou Letter tells it like this.
Comprehensive write-up, folding glass, how, why, and the truth of Samsung's Z Flip. So he gets in the mix himself. He puts himself right in between the controversy side of it, the speculation that there's no glass present, and Samsung saying they have something which they were calling, what were they calling? UTG, ultra thin glass. They had a name for it, UTG. Woo!
With a punch hole 10 megapixel selfie camera, when folded you can take selfies with the dual 12 megapixel wide and ultra wide angle cameras at the back with a narrow 1.1-inch AMOLED display as a viewfinder, and also be in sync with notification of calls, SMS, emails and social media. The camera can shoot 4K, 1080p and 720p videos. Key specs are 8GB of RAM, 256GB of storage, powered by Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset, 3300 mAh battery, USB Type-C connector, 15 watts fast charging, wireless charging and power share. Face unlock and fingerprint sensor also available. Comes in with nano SIM slot and eSIM, 4G LTE, 3G and 2G network support. Now that we got that out of the way, it is time for the battle to begin. We will see which phone survived the most in the hands of the unforgiving users and tech reviewers. The Battle of the Folds. On this battleground, we will see which smartphones had the highest number of folds without breaking. At what point was the breaking and which part is broken. Starting with the RAZR, the flip test is based on CNET's folding test video with square thread fold board that aimed to fold the Motorola RAZR 100,000 times, 2 folds per second. See for yourself what happens next. Pay attention to the pop, pop, pop sound in the background. That was the Motorola sound of the RAZR swinging and throwing punches to stay alive.
Hey folks, we're back with our torture test of the new Motorola RAZR. Just finished a great chat with Kent German and Alexi Savitas about what this thing means, the history of the new RAZR. This, of course, is the folding screen Motorola RAZR. We're about to put it into our folding machine, which you may have seen us inflict upon the Galaxy Fold a couple of months ago, and we worked that thing back and forth, 2 folds per second. We try to get to 100,000 folds on these devices. This is an accelerated torture test, as Motorola has made clear they do not believe, nor do we put forth, that this is real-world use. The number of folds and the short time in which we will do them is obviously not real-world, but it is an accelerated look at some degree of the reliability, and it's fascinating to watch this foldable screen in that machine. That thing right there, which my colleague Chris Parker, the Foldinator-in-Chief, is about to mount up. Adjustments. So this is, again, a rig that was developed by our friends at Square Trade, and we're centering up the hinge more there. And the idea here is that it's going to eventually be adjusted so it'll open and close the phone just right. Now, all this has got to be done just like so. So as CP centers it up, this device is able to then get the fold to work, and being centered is key. So as we move that back and forth, we'll get this just right so it's not giving us any resistance. Therefore, we know that it's doing a natural fold of the device. And this may take some back and forth. And you can hear this thing. I want to be quiet for a minute. Listen to this. You can probably hear.
The robot also got broken at around 2,190 flips. The CNET Foldinator-in-Chief had to intervene. And all the way to around 27,218 flips.
Our third big check-in of the day. We're checking in at the top of every hour, so make sure you come back at. Oh, I think it wants to stop right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn this thing off here.
I feel sorry.
The machine was stopped, the hinge gave up, but the screen is still alive.
Are you listening?
Wow.
Damn.
Now,
Oh yeah, that's
not good.
not good.
I mean, at least it's working, I guess.
Yeah, but
At this point, there was some confusion in the room. Nobody wanted to say anything that might result in, some trouble. But the conclusion is,
if any of my bosses are paying attention and have any advice.
What should we do?
So after over 27,000 folds and almost 4 hours of time, I had to pull the plug on the test. Now at that point, the screen was still working fine. I was able to fold the hinge, but it was very rickety and creaky and obviously not the way it was supposed to be working. So to say this phone is broken at this point is a little bit of an overstatement, but it certainly isn't working the way it was designed to work. But the story wasn't over there. Today, Motorola got in touch and issued a statement in reaction to the test. You can find that whole statement in our article, but in short, Motorola says, Square Trade's FoldBot is simply not designed to test our device. Therefore, any tests run utilizing this machine will put undue stress on the hinge and not allow the phone to open and close as intended. CNET's test is not indicative of what consumers will experience when using the RAZR in the real world. We have every confidence in the durability of the RAZR.
to match a more realistic everyday usage, Zach from Jerrywick Everything Slam tests the RAZR like this.
The feature of this folding phone I'm most curious about is its ability to be slammed shut after a phone call. Remember, there is still currently a rock behind the screen somewhere, and I'm slamming it shut just about as hard as a person can with one hand. And now with two hands. Even with two hand slams and a little pebble behind the screen, this Motorola RAZR can withstand the abuse, and the phone definitely seems to be equipped to handle all abrupt phone hang-ups. I'd still take care of it though, since you never quite know which fold will be your last.
For the Galaxy Z Flip, at the time of writing and recording, the flip test has not yet been conducted by CNET or any other techie I can find out there. So this might have to be in part 2 of this video. Samsung has said though that it can survive 200,000 flips. Somebody in the tech community gotta take them up on that. But Zach has done some slam shot tests with some sand in between. See how it fares through.
Let's start with the slam shut test. You know, if you get a little aggressive with hanging up on someone after a phone call, and you smash the phone closed. We gotta see if the phone survives. It does have the physical raised bumpers all along the outer edge of the screen. Those bumpers are absorbing most of the slamming force. And the screen is still in one piece. Of course, the phone is meant to fold inwards. Samsung said it would survive 200,000 times, which is 182 times a day if you plan on keeping your phone for 3 years.
The battle of durability, screen toucher. In this battleground, we will give special focus to the screen, how well they do under scratch, stress, and flame. Starting this time with the Galaxy Z Flip, Zach from Jerry Rig Everything put a bold statement/claim made by Samsung about the Z Flip having a revolutionary, bendable, flexible screen to test. See what happens next.
As my firstmost pick touches the display of the Galaxy Z Flip, we can see marks start to appear. This is rather unfortunate. Continuing onward, we can see deeper grooves happening at a level 3. This is exactly how a plastic screen would react. Exactly like we saw in the Galaxy Fold, the Motorola RAZR, and basically every other plastic screen smartphone ever made. For kicks and giggles, we can bump it up to a level 4, and I could physically feel the tip of the pick start to cut the display surface open. So why in the world would Samsung talk about flexible glass so much on their website and at the launch of it?
And for the flame test, while Samsung is still getting some spanking over the bendable glass claim.
Even if the Z Flip display does hypothetically have glass ingredients in it, we shouldn't be calling it glass unless it has the properties of glass. I can't go make a pile of mud, sprinkle in some chocolate chips, and then call my mud a cookie. Just because it has some of the ingredients of a cookie, that shouldn't be allowed. The thin display lasted about 15 seconds under the heat from my lighter. When I pulled the flame away, there were burn marks still left on the screen, and it did not recover.
But later on in his teardown video, Samsung responded as follows.
So Samsung ended up responding to The Verge regarding my Galaxy Z Flip durability test video. And it's interesting what they said. They said the Galaxy Z Flip features an Infinity Flex display with Samsung ultra-thin glass. This first-of-a-kind UTG technology is different from other Galaxy flagship devices. While the display does bend, it should be handled with care. Also, the Galaxy Z Flip has a protective layer on top of the ultra-thin glass, similar to the Galaxy Fold. That last sentence there, telling us there is protection on top, explains exactly what we saw during the durability test. That protective layer was the layer that was getting damaged, and the glass is, well, maybe underneath all that somewhere. I never back down from a good challenge. It's time to find some glass.
And finally, Zach got to find his glass underneath the plastic layer and a dead screen. Take a look.
I'm not really sure how much we can call it a protective layer though, when it's actually essential to the phone's survival. It's not really protecting the screen, it is the screen. Now according to Samsung, we should start seeing the glass layer right underneath this integral epidermis. And ladies and gentlemen, I think this is it. Little shards of cracked glass are covering the OLED layer, right underneath that plastic protection. Shiny little slivers of glass are scraping away with my tweezers, almost like little slivers of fiberglass. And it glistens just like broken glass does. Not to mention my fingers are now full of it. Fair payback, I guess.
That settles it. For the record, Samsung did not lie. They just hid the truth underneath a plastic layer. The battle of the bob, bending over backwards. In this battle, the Motorola RAZR all plastic body goes against the Z Flip's all Gorilla Glass 6 body to see how they could withstand bending in the wrong direction and still surviving. Let's get it. For the RAZR, warning, there is a lot of disturbing sounds and screams. Audio discretion is advised.
Let's say you leave your phone on the couch, face down. and Great Aunt Susie comes over to ask why you didn't bring a special someone with you to the family reunion. She sits down and... the screen. Each of the four corners of whatever that rectangle object is under there just got smushed into the soft backside of the screen. After turning the screen off and then back on again, the phone does return to functionality, but the 4 pixels do not recover. The phone is still functional, even after the screen is punctured from the back. The hinge is, you know, bent backwards and it's a little more floppy than usual. Something's broken inside, aren't we all? But it's still rather incredible the
But wait, did you get the something is broken inside? Aren't we all part? Genius. This part. Take a listen.
Something's broken inside, aren't we all? But it's still rather incredible.
For the Z Flip, folding backwards give a different result. See for yourself.
Bending back the opposite direction, though, is a different story. With the first flex, we get a small separation of the frame near the antenna line, and the top half bumper started coming loose. But the screen of the Z Flip is still entirely intact and in one piece. It still shuts and opens with no grinding of the hinge. We'll try it again. You can see the back panels of the phone meet in the center, providing more support to keep the phone from bending backwards. And the phone hinge does a really good job of keeping the phone shape for the most part. Only on our third bend did we finally hear a snap from the frame near that power button. And even then, the so-called glass screen of the Z Flip is still intact. Folding screens are pretty resilient. Even though the phone doesn't really shut quite right anymore, it's physically withstanding quite a bit more abuse than I initially thought it could. Only now, after all its previous bends and cracks, does the back panel shatter.
Battle of the Oops, I dropped it. In this battleground, we will see who can withstand the highest number of fall due to gravity, who survive most after impact with Mother Earth, and in what shape. Let the battle begin. Philip from Everything Apple Pro did a video on the drop test. This guy has been dropping and breaking phones since iPhone 6. This time he has done it for the Galaxy Z Flip and the Motorola RAZR. The irony. So not everything is Apple Pro then. Anyways, the drop test. Warning, there's a lot of technical and whatnot. Discretion is advised.
Let's start with the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. Waist height, 3, 2, 1. Oh, right on the screen. And the Motorola RAZR, 3, 2, 1. Obviously you can tell that's plastic, a lot of bounce to it. Oh wow, okay, so I did good. Motorola RAZR, waist height, open position, 3, 2, 1. Quite a jump. And the Galaxy Z Flip. So what happened last time on the fold was the screen just stopped working. So what could happen here? 3, 2, 1. Okay, looks like it's a little bit of dampening. So it does have these bumpers actually, and that's more to set the screen when it closes so it doesn't rub up on each other. But that could actually do wonders for durability also. All right, and it has survived. So here we go, starting with the RAZR in 3, 2, 1. Ouch. And the Galaxy Z Flip in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Oh, okay, it's still good. Yeah, so what is happening is the hinge is starting to get loose and it's folding outwards more than it should be. And oh, RAZR is done. There it is. So even though the screen didn't break, we do have some dead spots, and imagine replacing this. Like, I don't even think that's possible. It's not like a standard smartphone. You'd have to replace the entire unit. Head height, these are very fragile phones from the future. Even plastic screens aren't impervious to damage. I'm honestly still surprised that this thing took all that tumble and is still working. But so far so good. Let's drop another one just for good measure. Just to make sure it does break here. All right, Motorola RAZR, head height, 3, 2, 1. Smack. And Galaxy Z Flip in 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Oh wow, that did survive. So yeah, I think the border here is what's protecting it. It's not directly hitting the screen, but that glass is surprisingly resilient, even in its bendable form. Maybe that has something to do with its shock resilience. And yeah, this one is still that way. So all things considered, it didn't do as bad as I thought, but it's still not as durable as traditional candy bar format smartphones.
So there you have it. 4 battles. Battles of the flip, battles of the screen toucher, battles of the BOB, bending over backward, and battles of the oops, I dropped it. Let's have your vote. Tell us in the comment section down below who won. If you are to buy, which will you go for? Remember to share, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. If you have, remember to click the little bell icon beside the subscription button to get fresh content as it hits the YouTube. Thanks for watching. Until the next one. Cheers.
Perfect.